Howdy, and welcome to the Lost Rider podcast. It's an honor and privilege to address you in the capacity of an interviewer, reporter, and media member. Too many modern media outlets have forgone the integrity and responsibility required of credible information sources. What you will receive here are straightforward discussions with legislators, agency leaders, biologists, engineers, doctors, and countless other experts that have the answers to questions often circulated as kitchen table issues. The title Lost Rider may be thought of literally as well as in the metaphorical sense. While there has been the instance that I was momentarily a little turned around at night in a wilderness area, the idea of being a lost rider in life, well, that fits most folks at some time. These renderings are coming to you in the form of the 25-year-old radio program, The News from the Camp House. It still airs every Saturday morning at 6:30 a.m. Central Time on KULM 98.3 FM out of Columbus, Texas. The original intent was to relate outdoor topics to the general public. Immediately, it was found that all issues are relatable to the outdoors and that people are people. They all play a role and they all have a vested interest. It's this program's desire to answer common questions about how the world works, how it will operate in the future, and what's the holdup? So please listen, enjoy, and never hesitate to contact us with more questions and feedback. Good morning and welcome to this weekend's edition of News from the Camp House, a listening post to the Texas Sportsman Association. This is Herman Brune. This weekend's edition is also brought to us by Shaw's Bend Social Club, country club for folks who don't have a country club. All right, now, here this weekend, we got another special guest with us. We have a young lady with us this weekend, Martha Spencer. Okay, Martha Spencer. And she is with Cajun Adventures. So, we're going to find out a little bit about Louisiana fishing.
Yeah, that's right.
And it sounds great. Just listening to the stories and stuff when we're all sitting around, it makes me want to go to Louisiana and go fishing.
That's the goal. Yeah, I'm an offshore turned inshore guide, meaning I started on big boats and got too tired and moved to the smaller boats. But I'm a Yankee originally. I moved to Louisiana in 2015. Always had a little bit of salt water in my veins. And everyone always asks me, how'd you go from a broadcast meteorologist to an offshore, now inshore fishing guide? I said I got really lost along the way. So, but I tell people, I did the corporate world for so long. I got so sick of it, I couldn't drag myself to work any longer, and I had to find something outside to do. So my office is the marsh and the Gulf.
No, that's great. That's great. And this seems like that's what I've been getting here lately. I've been getting everybody's stories of how did you get from point A to point B.
Yeah.
And that's, I think for the young people that are trying to figure out their way, it's good for them to hear these stories from folks, because good Lord, I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to be when I grow up. And
I say that all the time.
Yeah.
The thing that you need to know is that life is too short to be stuck in something you hate, and don't get blinded by a paycheck. Now, I never got a good enough paycheck to keep me, somewhere I wasn't so happy. I mean, maybe if I was walking away from $250,000 a year, it'd be a little bit harder, but it is way more important to enjoy what you do every day than take home money that you get to spend 2 weeks out of the year. I have never once regretted leaving, what I went to college for and what I spent 10 years doing, 10 plus years, to try something new in the middle part of my life. So if you are in a job and you feel like you're backed into a corner, I had a meteorology degree. What can you go and do with that? Not that much. You just have to stick your neck out, make connections, and find something to do. And I would never be doing what I am doing today if I just didn't take the leap. So,
all right, okay. Now tell us where you grew up again.
I grew up in Connecticut. My whole family is from up north, lives up there. I went to college in Florida. And once I moved down south, I said, I'm never going back to the snow. I need sunshine. I need warmer weather. I realized I'd never wanted to be too far from saltwater, but I think now later, we were talking about this the other day, that I just need open spaces. I need some pretty nature, some pretty scenery. Maybe some parts are not better, some aren't as good for me as others, but I love the mountains. I love the ocean. I just need a wide open space, and cities are not for me anymore.
All right. You said you went to college in Florida,
Yes.
Gainesville?
I went to Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, which is in Daytona Beach, Florida. It's 1 mile from the Speedway. So it's a school that produced a lot of pilots, aerospace engineers, military. But everyone said, well, next question, are you a pilot? No, I hate flying. I just really like weather. And weather translates into my life every single day. So,
Right.
It's the easiest job for people to poke fun at because it's not an exact science. I mean, I never took more slack than, you got the only job that you get paid to be wrong. I said, what's the batting average on a baseball player? I mean, there's plenty of jobs you can be worse at. Nobody ever told a plumber they were full of crap, but you're going to go up to a meteorologist and tell them they didn't study something for 4 years. I mean,
Right.
It's funny how everyone likes to dog on meteorologists until it becomes serious. I mean, who are you turning to when the weather gets rough, So it's a tough career.
All right. So how do you, okay, I think about it. I think about a college program. Like I was an animal science major, and then I was a journalism major.
Mm-hmm.
And so and I know I've talked to people who are in healthcare, and I've talked to attorneys, and I've talked to engineers and all of it. Like a meteorologist, what are your core classes? What do you do?
Well, first of all, I didn't grow up wanting to be a meteorologist. It was never my childhood goal to do it. I wanted to be a radio broadcaster when I was young, but I quickly learned with my communications degree, there really wasn't any money in that job. Then I quickly learned there wasn't that much in meteorology, but I transferred from a school called Stetson University to Embry-Riddle University, and I simply just because the weather was so different down to where I was than where I grew up, and they had the degree program there. So it was kind of on a whim that I swapped to that. My whole life has just been one step in front of the other. I never planned anything too far.
All right. Well, I'm still trying to figure it out though. You meteorology, studying
Just say
the
weather.
weather. Studying the weather.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is ocean currents. This is
Atmospheric.
atmosphere. It's El Nino, all that stuff. And what makes what happen? I mean, it's cause and effect. That's what is so much of what you study, right?
Yes, and that part honestly wasn't the interesting part. I liked how weather translated to life more.
Okay.
When you think about when you see weather affecting things in your life, and I'm not just talking about plowing your streets, but when we were out bass fishing this morning, what was everyone saying? Oh, the pressure's dropping, the fish are going to bite, or how is this airport going to function today? With what is fog going to slow down? I mean, weather is such a huge part of everyday life, more so than we think about in everything. I mean, even out here, if we're out in Texas, I was in Del Rio in January, and you guys had a really bad freeze to where there's so many exotics in Texas, and they're not used to this kind of weather because that's not what they were ingrained to live in. So you're having to adapt and deal with conditions that aren't necessarily designed for what you are doing. So it's a constant part of everyday life, whether you see it or you don't. It's affecting you some way.
All right. Okay.
Pearl Harbor was literally, that may not have happened. The Pearl Harbor, all these attacks, because they were meteorologists back in World War II. And they may not have been able to plan these attacks, if they didn't have some form of knowledge about weather. I mean, it's a huge part of war, Are we going to be able to make this attack? Are we going to be able, what phase is the moon in? Do we have enough moonlight to do this? Are the winds going to translate to, are we going to be able to drop this bomb? I mean, weather plays a huge role in history too.
All right. You go by, the phases of the moon are considered?
How much moonlight are you getting?
Okay.
There's actually a form of meteorology called forensic meteorology, where they actually call meteorologists to help solve crimes. So if somebody gets in a vehicular homicide accident and they're claiming that it was fog created or it was too dark to see, they can go back and look at the historical, what were the cloud conditions? How much light were we getting? Was it warm enough or cold enough to create a slick road? So you can use it to solve, prove and dispute things too, when you think about it.
Okay. All right. No, and I'm just thinking about how much when I was growing up, how many things we did going by the moon.
Yep.
You stop and think about it, and you don't hear about it that much nowadays.
No, the Farmer's Almanac went by the wayside. But I mean, as an offshore fishing captain, we looked at, for swordfish and deep water fish, we looked at the moon phases almost more than anything, because animals that are living in the darkness are feeding at different depths when there's more moonlight. A tuna fish is going to have a terrible morning bite because if it's a clear night and it's a full moon, they're going to see the bait better at night. So they're going to feed more heavily at night. So when you're going to, you go through feeding periods, fish go through feeding periods just like people. You might not, if you're staying up late and partying all night, you're not going to eat breakfast till 10 a.m. So if they're out in the moonlight and they're feeding on bait fish in a clear sky, the times that you're usually going out to, daybreak, which is, traditional time when fish bite, they may not bite until a couple hours later. Same with deer hunting. You look at it, how many times do you say, what time of day do you go out and sit when there's a full moon?
Oh, well, it's, that's just an excuse to go sit in a deer stand. You go out there early in the morning and just stay there all day.
If you're a true deer hunter, but the people that don't want to get up early say, oh, they're going to be walking around at midday,
Right.
So
No, you're 100%
I think that actually does have an effect, I think, in animals too. I mean, it's just when things are accessible, and the moon creates tidal pulls. It creates stronger tides, which moves bait more. It makes it harder to catch bait. I mean, if there's a big moon and there's a big tidal surge, the current might be too strong to do what you want to do normally. If you got a 4-knot current and you're trying to put out a live bait and keep it on a free drifting line, it's going to stay tight because it's too. If you're trying to hold the boat in a current, and that current's stronger because the lunar currents, the lunar effect makes the tides stronger, so it can affect fishing that way. It can make your life difficult.
Okay, no, this is great stuff. Yeah, I've never heard all this stuff applied that way, but no, it's cool.
Yeah.
No, and it's you've got the advantage on some of these boys.
Yeah, I wish I could say it could make me better, but it makes me understand things differently. It does. I don't necessarily know if it gives me an upper hand with what I'm doing, but it might make me kind of reassess when I go out. So there's major and minor feeding times, and the majors are when the moon is at a 90-degree angle to the horizon or on the other side, and the minors are when it's at the sunrise, sunset.
Right.
And those two time periods, even in the marsh fishing for redfish, you say, well, what are the majors? What are the minors? Well, those are created by the moon. I mean, that's where the moon is in the sky and where the sun is. So that creates more active feeding patterns.
All right. Okay. All right. I hope everybody's taking notes. All right. Let's take a quick break. We'll thank the folks who let us come on here every Saturday morning, and we'll be right back. Thank goodness for all the great sponsors we have here at News from the Camp House. H-E-B Food Stores. That's Stephen Tice at H-E-B. He helps me. He helps the community. He's a great man. I'm so thankful H-E-B loosened him up, lets him go around and sponsor a few things. H-E-B's got all your food needs. It's the greatest food store we got here in Columbus. Thank goodness for H-E-B. First State Bank. You go over to First State Bank, they'll take care of all your loans, all your deposits, your savings, anything you need. Bunch of great hometown people over there. You got Celia Tobias, John Pollock. Everybody over there is looking out for you. Miss Barbara Barta. It's a great bunch of folks at the First State Bank is also sponsoring News from the Camp House. First State Bank takes care of all my business. Baumgart Agency, Susan Baumgart at the Baumgart Agencies, her and Germania. She told me to plug Germania. Germania is an insurance that she likes to everybody to know about. The Baumgart Agencies. Miss Susan and I are classmates, being classmates. She got me out of high school, sat right beside her, put us in alphabetical order where I could copy. And Susan Baumgart over at the Baumgart Agency taking care of all your insurance needs. Lyco Realty, one of the original sponsors of News from the Camp House. Lyco Realty, the oldest real estate company in the county, and for the last 3 years voted the favorite realtor in the county. Lyco Realty, that's Miss Kimberly Johnson. That's Crockett's granddaughter. More kinfolks and classmates and great people from Colorado County. People from Colorado County helping people from Colorado County. That's great. Oh, thank goodness for all these wonderful people come to me want to be sponsors for News from the Camp House. Good morning and welcome to the second half of this week's News from the Camp House. Herman Brune. We're here this morning with Miss Martha Spencer. She is with Cajun Adventures. She's a fishing guide in Louisiana, and she is past life. She was a meteorologist, and earlier was explaining moon phases and tides and how to know when to fish. And it's great stuff. It's applying things that we all know about and applying it in ways that we should understand. Okay, so now, like I said earlier, I get the most fun, and I think it's greatest thing to do is get everybody's story, because we could sit here and talk about fishing all day.
Right.
But now, how did you make the transition? When did you figure out you were a meteorologist, you're on television, you're telling people the weather? What channel?
I was at, my last station was WGNO, which was the ABC affiliate in New Orleans, Louisiana. And truthfully, I wanted to leave meteorology before I even took that job, but I wasn't able to figure out what else I wanted to do yet. And I was telling another podcaster here that, if I had started fishing 10, 15 years sooner and hunting, that who knows where I'd be now. I'd probably be further along than I am. But then again, if I hadn't done what I did in my prior job, I never would have wound up in Louisiana, and I never would have been introduced to what I have been. So it took A to get to B to make C. So
Okay.
I basically got to a point where I had done it enough and I just couldn't stand it anymore. And I had finally found something I enjoyed. But the key to life is, everyone says don't make your hobby your job. I think that that's crap, because if you're good at it, you can still enjoy it. And if you enjoy sharing it with people, you can still enjoy it. People say, what do you do on your day off? I still do the same things on my day off that I do when I'm at work, know? So that means you enjoy your job.
Okay. All right. No, I don't disagree. I mean, I do know, but I do know the idea. If you turn something that you love into a job, you better keep making money at it, because if you don't, if you start losing at it, then that's when it quits being fun.
That's true. And there are definitely some growing pains with it. And you just have to have faith. I mean, nobody ever, Rome wasn't built in a day. I'm trying to build my inshore career. Switching from offshore to inshore wasn't just like I took a huge following of people. I'm introducing myself to a whole new audience, and I'm competing with a huge amount of guides down there. So you have to find something that makes you stand out, whether it's how well you fish or just connecting with people. There's a lot of guides in fishing that catch fish. And it's, when you ask people, well, how do you pick? Well, are they going to remember the fish and the captain, or just the fish? Because how are you going to call somebody back if you don't remember who you caught the fish with? So you have to be memorable in a way as well.
No, that all makes sense. Okay, how'd you get from Florida to Louisiana?
Oh, by way of South Carolina, I lived in Alabama. I lived in South Carolina. I had my first 2 TV jobs. I was in Myrtle Beach. I was in Dothan, Alabama. And then when I left Myrtle Beach, I got a job in New Orleans. So it was almost like military life. Every 3 years, you were trying to get to a bigger market. So you're trying to climb the social status to get to more money and more stature, and mainly more money, which equates to a bigger market. Mm-hmm. So New Orleans was that's as far as I wanted to go. I didn't want to go work in a bigger city, because that's just more eyes on you to critique you, and it doesn't necessarily make your life better. So Louisiana was a very welcoming place, especially nobody believes me when I tell them I grew up north. They can kind of tell I'm not from where I'm living, but I've lived enough places to know how to fit in. And I think that Louisiana is a very welcoming state to a lot of people, and they're very proud of their culture and their areas. I mean, some of the nicest people I've ever met. Us Yankees get a bad rap for being kind of ornery, and I just tell people it's because the taxes are too high and the weather stinks. There's too much traffic, so go easy on us. But I've been a bit of a chameleon in my life, and I mean, I'm not sure I'm done moving yet. I mean, Texas, I've always been drawn to Texas. I could see myself living out, in San Antonio someday. I don't know. You never know.
All right. Okay. Well, all right. Now, how do we make the transition from meteorologist to offshore?
When I worked at the TV station, I had a little segment called Fish Tales. It was a weekly segment I'd started that got me out of the office, and it was storytelling, just like what we're doing right now. And I would cold call captains, tell them, hey, you'll get a little free PR. You'll be on the 5 o'clock news on Friday. Take me out for an hour or two and tell me your best story. And I got introduced to a lot of guides that way. And that eventually got me to offshore fishing. Caught my first tuna, my first swordfish, shot my first deer on camera. Almost all of my like milestones in outdoors have been documented. A lot of them.
Okay.
So, which is kind of rare to say I can go back and look at footage of the first time I did this. So when my contract was coming to an end, I knew I didn't want to stay in the corporate world anymore. And I made a game plan. I started a TV show called Bayou Wild. It's on YouTube with another radio host from Louisiana, actually. And we did that for 8 years. Took me all over the country. I've been to Alaska, to North Dakota, to Arkansas, Florida, California. It's gotten me introduced to a lot of things, and I just couldn't see doing anything, in an office ever again. I consider it.
You had a television show. Now, did you have to go out and do your own marketing?
Yeah, we did. My co-host, though, had a lot of years on me and a lot of experience, so he knew a lot more folks than me. So he was much better at selling the ad space because that was where we got our income from. That was commercials. But a lot of the excursions we did, people just wanted to show us what they had. A lot of it was storytelling. It wasn't your traditional use this bra head, go out at this, use this. We never did product placement in our show. And I think that's what made it a little different. It was about the stories. The only ads you ever saw were on the commercial breaks. When you were watching the show, we had a cooking segment in every show because not everybody hunts, not everybody fishes, everybody eats. So, wives were watching it with their husbands to learn how to cook what they were killing if they weren't interested in hunting and fishing, and maybe they became huntresses or fishermen. I really didn't get introduced into hunting and fishing until I was 30 years old about. So in the last 12 years, my whole house is covered in animals now. So it was fun. It was everybody liked to kind of see it through new eyes, and it was new to me. So it was fun seeing my excitement as an adult doing something that, people are like, you're a 10-year veteran fishing guide now, and you didn't do this until your second career. So it's never too late. I might have a third career in me.
Well, sure. Okay. All right. Let's talk a little bit now. You were offshore.
Yes.
And you decided to go hunt, fish the bays.
Yes. Offshore fishing is not a young man or woman's sport. It became very physically demanding. We're fishing rough conditions. You go to bed and your back's killing you every day, and you're not getting into your place till dark, and financially it wasn't making sense anymore. And I still love it. I still do it. I just don't charter it anymore. I can fish more days for less hours and less pain on my body going inshore, an 8-hour day instead of a 14-hour day, and maybe a little more lucrative too. So it's just became a more feasible career, but it also was a new challenge. I mean, I started part-time inshore fishing while I was still full-time offshore fishing, and it's learning something new. It's a different style of fishing. It's completely different than what we did offshore. So I'm still learning, but I'm full-time at this now. So it's kind of just an evolution.
There's a lot more inshore guides that you're competing with.
There are a lot more inshore guides. That is true. There are a lot. But we also have more fishable days than offshore because there's a lot of days, especially in the winter, that you just can't get out there. And you might be able to go in a small boat in protected waters. And if it's too hard to fish out there, you can come in here. So,
all right, tell us a little bit. I'm right around here, just between Palacios, Matagorda Bay, Matagorda Bay, San Antonio Bay, all this stuff around here, all the way down to South Padre. But it's different over there.
Yeah, I fish in Lower Plaquemines Parish, the home of Venice, Louisiana, and Buras, Louisiana, which is just north of Venice. And it is known as the tuna capital of the world, they call it. Because with the topography of Louisiana, you can get pushed out into deeper water. You don't have to run 80 miles to get offshore to get into water deep enough to find species. We also have a huge marsh. I mean, if you look at a map of the state, you're going to see different It looks like a tree. It looks like the roots of a tree system. And there's so many cuts and paths and places to go that it's just, Texas is a lot more open water fishing in bays. And Louisiana is a lot more like a puzzle, just kind of riding through the marsh and finding holes and cuts and banks and areas to go. And we fish open water too, but it's just a lot more to explore.
All right, but you found your way around. You've kind of got an idea here. you've got an idea. You know where you're going now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna say I don't get lost a time or two, but we got some pretty good GPS, and we've got phones as backup. But you fish enough areas, you know, hey, I know that stump, or I know that turn, or I know where it gets deep here, and watch out for that log. And yeah, it definitely gets better. It gets easier.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. How many? Okay, but if you, all right, here's where I'm ignorant again. What is different types of boats that it takes?
Yeah. So when I was offshore fishing, it started. The Venice fishery started with 30-foot boats, 28-foot boats with 2 motors, and everything's bigger, faster, and more expensive now. So the standard offshore boat is 39 to 42 feet with 3 to 4 motors. The inshore boats, if you buy them new, cost more than a sports car. My boat I bought used, and it costs as much as a truck, and it's got a single engine. It's a 24-foot Skeeter, which is built in Texas. Skeeter boats, they run anywhere from a bass boat up to a 25-foot nearshore boat. I have a 24-foot boat. I comfortably take 3, but sometimes 4. But it's a good fishing boat for shallow water. It's really ideal for where we fish. It's not the shallow water skiffs you see in Texas where they're going out in super shallow water that don't have much of a gunnel. Right. More protection. Right. They're different than that. We need a little more protection, but they do get into pretty skinny water. And you can even take them into deep water too.
Okay. All right. I tell you what, we're out of time, but I sure appreciate you being with us this morning.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure. I feel like Texas is kind of a second home to me. I love hunting over here. I definitely want to spend more time and maybe go check out the Texas coastline.
All right. Okay. That's Miss Martha Spencer with Cajun Adventures. Folks, I hope you enjoyed it this morning. This edition was also brought to us again by the Shaw's Bend Social Club, country club folks who don't have a country club. All right, now everybody go out, have a big weekend, enjoy yourself, have a lot of fun, be safe, and y'all just remember, pretty much any day is sure a good day to be out in the woods.